Well, hi everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube art tutorial channel. I'm a professional artist working from my studio in Essex in the UK and painting plein air in the countryside. Well, hi everyone. Well, I've just enjoyed the Christmas period. Still got the embellishment on my hat. So you know, we're still in the Christmas spirit really. So popped into Chelmsford this morning for a coffee with the family, and decided that on the way back I saw a subject. So quick little pencil sketch, and now I'm going to try and put that down onto watercolour paper. So let me show you how. Well, here we go then. Drawings on the board, three figures, a pair, one main figure and the other figure there. Now I'm using a 1-inch flat, plenty of water, and I'm going to start off with a little impression really of the background. That needs to be quite blurred and out of focus in many ways. Light's coming from the right, so this is really dark. We've got lots of darks in the background, but some tone within that. So the first thing I'm going to do, it's got to be dark, but I'm adding, to start with, to give it that sort of glow, I'm going in first with cadmium red and cadmium yellow, or lemon yellow, try that. And I'm going straight in without damping the paper. So this is my first real wash of colour onto the paper, and I want this to be fairly loosely coloured really. Now I'm adding a bit of light red to that because that is light red, but I'm painting around the building windows, which as it is, there you go. Now this is the old Christmas tree. Well, the new Christmas tree, it's getting old now. That's quite a large feature. So now as I come down, I'm spreading that colour down like that. It's really just getting base washes on, and I'm painting around the figures. Don't want to use any white at this stage if I can help it. So melt that away there, and in this area there, I'm going to sweep through a real warm tone, and I'm actually putting one splash of warmer colour there. Just let that bleed in, and that's going to match that. Coat is white, but of course, because the light's coming from the back, there's nothing white about it apart from the tops of the heads, and just go around the figures a little tighter. There we go. A little bit of additional colour in there. There. Now, as we come forward, I'm using a little red in there too. What we got on these figures? Oh yes, a little bit of light catching those, so that's not a problem. And then I'm going to use a bit more red and blend that in to that. There we go. That's nice. And we've got pretty much the light that I was looking for really. Nice bit of light onto the pavement. There we go. Now we're looking for stronger tones, and for that I'm going to use Payne's grey with a little light red, because that'll give me purpley sort of grey, because we've got buildings up here that are sort of revealing themselves with windows, varying things going on like that. Going to go round there, and into there. So this is just first washes really, to try and pick up a bit more Payne's grey, and I'm going to use a little Indian red into this now, because I want this to ping out into shadow, and it's got to be painted on a loose fashion, because once you get it's got a bit of red in there that'll shine through. Once you become too strong with that in colour, then it won't sit back, which is what we're looking for the whole thing to do basically. Then I'm going to ping up, and ping up is a bit of a technical term I suppose, because of the lovely branches of the Christmas tree. So I'm leaving some little white tips here and there, because they will be in, it's got a massive great bowl it sits in. It has to be high because I believe it can get vandalised during the certain periods of Christmas festivities. But there you go, painting around the figures again, and this has to be of a loose sort of fashion, because if it's not going to work. So that's basically the first start of the initial washes. Now I'm going in with cobalt blue and a little bit of that Payne's grey, because we do have a bit of suggestion of windows here, and I want to get those in. A bit of Indian red into that. I want this to be quite strong, in sort of blue tone really. So that's not strong enough for me, that's better. There we go. And then we have windows there, all in a blurred sort of fashion. Then we have a small selection of windows there. There again, blur it away. And those windows stretch like that. And then we're painting back in there. Then we have this roof area. So that's another area of slightly different tone within that. There we go, look at that. Now I know it looks dark, but I can assure you, well I hope I can assure you, I'm trying to assure myself that it will appear much lighter once it dries. And that's the old thing about watercolour painting. You know, unless you go dark enough, then you won't appreciate the light tones. And that's the gable end of those areas there. I love this sort of stage of a painting. It's got to be pulled together. And how you do that is without too much in the way of detail. That's how you do that. Right, so that's that. Yes, we'll lay that over there. And that basically stretches right the way through there. There we go. That's okay. We'll pull that through like that. Just we're marrying it all together. See, now I'm pulling that into that, pulling that across there, trying to make certain that we get a sense of light and tone behind these figures, because these figures will be standing in clear relief. Tops of the figures will have all the shadow, the tops and right hand side, anything they're holding will have all the sunlight catching them and shadow to the left. Now this figure in the front here is actually delving into their bag. That's a bit more blue now because I want a window there, albeit still very dark. There, can always go over with another tone. There we go, that's that figure. And oh, we've got almost blue now. Well, that's not blue at all, but that doesn't matter because we really are not worried, to be fair. There we go. So that's another area of window work there. Whoops, just pick around that figure that's standing there, and we'll go right the way over all of that. The reason for the underpainting is because with watercolour that will shine through. That's nice. Yep, coming along pretty much as I would have expected. Just added a little warm tone to the windows and the Christmas tree. I'm also going to darken the pot. It's a very large pot. As I say, not quite sure why it has to be that large, but I know we do have climbers around during the festive season, and I suppose that guards against that to a certain extent. But there you go. Now I'm going to bring that right to the end. There we go. It looks quite large, and it is quite large. I can assure you it's pretty much as large as it looks. Good. A little bit of this darkening in the lower part of those windows, so as we can just see a little bit of that light just catching, but nothing too fancy. Now the tree itself, now this is going to be lemon yellow again with Payne's grey, because this Payne's grey, it's a Winsor & Newton Payne's grey, and it tends to have a blue tint. So that's the reason why I like using it, because it has a blue tint, and that gives it that warm tone and green tone if you're looking to paint anything specific like a Christmas tree. And now I'm going in with even more of the Payne's grey and cadmium. In actual fact, it's not cadmium, it's actually lemon yellow going in there. A lot of people, I don't use the Winsor Blue, the Payne's grey greatly, but I just feel that you know, it's always nice to use if you can, and I do. Right, now I'm going to concentrate a little bit on the figures. Now the figures' faces should be of a warm tone, like that. So that's the face of that figure, tending to look down a little bit, and the coat is cream. So to get cream, I'm going to use I don't want to use too many different colours, so let's do a bit more yellow within that green to give me a sort of a creamy green tone. Hang on, no, it's got to be blue, sorry, my mistake. It's got to have a blue tone, because that gives us a creamy feel. There we go. Bag everything is going on there. Bag can be painted, the arm. This is going to be quite dark in the end, so we're not too concerned. We'll depict the bags as they happen. It's always nice to bit of sunlight on those arms, because that's how they are. And what am I going to do here? I don't know. This is going to be more grey, so I'm adding a bit more of the Payne's grey to this, and picking that figure out like that. Go. Yeah, that's looking good. Whoops, don't want that to run if I can help it, except into the legs possibly. There you go. Oh well, may as well bring that colour down into this chappie's legs as well then. There we go. Looks as if he's fallen back, so hang on a minute. There we go. And oh, a little bit of red here now is required, because I want the eye to be drawn into the picture and not out of the picture. So I'm adding a bit of red to that with a tint on the sunlit side. Can you see the way I'm left that sunlit side unpainted there? That's the idea of the whole thing really. And then I'm adding blue to that now, because this figure is, and I'm not giving specifics of the blues, the colours I'm using, because they could be almost any colour really, you know. Not really too sure that it matters a great deal. And gently with those legs, that one's coming like that, that one's crossing at the front there. There we go. It's up and this one is down. There we go. That's it. Good. So that's the figures. They're beginning to come up quite nice. Just got to put there's a figure with sort of like a slightly orangey hair. So that's what this figure's going to have, and more or less a blonde sort of a feel to that figure, and that is grey, so that's okay. And this is dark, so I'm just using Payne's grey into this, just purely to give a dark feel. But obviously everything on the sunlit side, which is this side, is going to have a tint. Now I'm going to elaborate a little bit on this with some Payne's grey and what have you on this tree, and I've noticed how it's run down into the base, so that I'm using to create this sort of spiky effect. And I'm using a very strong Payne's grey with yellow for this particular passage. I'm more or less going straight in to the colour and allowing that to mix on the paper, because it's still wet, you see. Like that, nicely spiked. There we go. That's the Christmas tree. Standing there like that. Got the sunlit, or not the sunlit side, but the lighter side. Like that. Now I'm going to do the dark side. So it's just a lot more Payne's grey in. Just trying to get a bit of light onto that. It's quite dark in this bottom area here. Just using the point of the brush. Now I'm pulling out at the top, spiky areas, but because it's wet, it's all going to sort of blend together and hopefully give that feeling of a Christmas tree, possibly. Well, hey ho, who's really worried? Anyway, that's that stage. That's drying. I'm going to paint in this really dark area of the side of the building, and as always, it needs to appear dark and be painted as such, because watercolour dries considerably lighter, as we all know. And that just comes straight down there like that. Look how that gives a foil to that right hand side. It's not neat paint, but there's a lot of paint there, and there's very little water. There's enough, but there's a windowsill there. I don't know whether to show that or not. I'm going to show it. I can always paint over it if needs must. And that finishes there and come. Oh, that really does shoot towards us, because without that perspective in the foreground, you won't get the feeling of depth. That's that little angle there and the less angle there. There you go. Now I'm adding considerably. Let's just clean that brush, because at this stage I want to put the shadows of the figures in next. Then I can gauge the strength of everything else. Right, well, for that, notice how I'm having to think about it. It's going to be cadmium red with Payne's grey. There we go. Wonder what we get from that. I'm actually putting a little bit of blue in there. It could be any blue really. That's better. Yeah. And now, here we go. Now this is where you take the bull by the horns. Let me just need to have a think about this. How dark to go with this, or indeed how light to go with it. It's because there's a lot of warmth there. Now I'm introducing cooler colours. So top of the head, round the back edge, no light there, and a little bit of light on the elbow, bit of light there. There we go. Now that is a rather blue figure, which is more or less gives depth to that figure. That's what I wanted, that in that particular area, like that. So that's the shadow of that figure. Give the arm a bit more thingy like that. That's fine. That's looking good. There. Now this figure is also going to be grey haired, so that's white. Then the arm coming down the back there. Not going to do the legs anymore on that one. put that figure just a little bit further forward. Now this is a pram that I've left white that will also have the odd touch of light catching. The rack underneath, not too concerned about what we've got there. And then this figure as well is going to be cool. Bit of red on that one, and I've just put a bit of paint in there, and even more paint. Look at that, look. Isn't it marvellous? This painting is, as I say, a lot of people say to me, you know, yeah, but you know how to do it. Yeah, quite often you have to make the best of what you've got, and it's sorry, it's right, now let's make the best of what we've got. Right, shadow from that figure coming back like that. Shadow, and got to remember that the shadows need to run in a similar direction, and of course they're quite long shadows, which always slightly easier to do if you keep them narrow. And this is because it's got blue in it. And notice this shadow, that figure is standing in front of that, so this shadow is a little longer than that. Then finally we get the shadow from the figure in the foreground, a bit more blue in that. There you go. I'm just giving an impression of that. I'm not painting that in any real form. There you go. And that is all you need to do for the shadows of the figures. Now the coat itself needs to be lightly shadowed, so I'm adding more water to that same colour because it's lightly shadowed like that. And the figure's head is lightly shadowed too, apart from the top. That has sunlight catching. So that goes like that. And that goes like that. Nice bit of light catching the edge of that hair. That's what I like. Going over the bag, the figure is holding a bag, and that bag will be put in at a later date. Well, not date, but very shortly. But and then we have bags here. I'll make those darker shortly, but at this stage I'm putting them in the same tone as that, as the coat, which sits there, and the legs will be considerably darker in a little while. There you go. See the way the figures are brought to life. Okay, now I'm going to use a little bit, some more of this blue to enhance certain areas in the building, and it's sort of there. The gable end there. There may be the complete roof. I like the look of that actually. Really give a little bit of hint at something going on in the background there. Here we go. That's it, allow that to dry, and we've just got to run there, so I'm going to pull that through. Bit of tone on that, bit of tone on that, a little bit of tone down that end there. Have we got anything else? Don't think there's much else to really worry about in this stage. No, that's looking quite good. Now we have a window here in the shop, so this is going to help give an even stronger background to that figure. Into the neck, give the head a little bit of a foil, yeah, about that sort of height. Also got a line coming across there, which we will slightly blur out shortly, and right underneath here and with that we will have shadow like that, spiky shadow perhaps. Don't want to do too much to that, but that'll run well out of picture. Now we have a shadow that runs behind these figures like that. As the sun comes around the corner, it'll be running behind those figures there like that. There's an opening, so that's going to be a little darker. There's a window there, so we'll slide that in. We'll slide some texture down there, indicate a bit of writing, something on there, sliding a bit of that down there, bit of that down there. It all helps to give that sort of impression feel without sort of interfering too much with the figures themselves. Okay, that's good. Now just before that dries, I'm going to run through a blue into parts of that to blur that again, just to give a bit more strength to that. It's also all about balance of tone. That's really all these paintings are about. Balance and tone against colour. That's it, and that's hanging into that shadow there. That's good. There again, going over there, being a little careful, not getting too carried away with this situation. Around that figure's arm again, and into that bit, and there you have it. We've blended that through nicely. Shadow that. There we are, and we've still maintained the light on those figures. That's not vital, but it's very useful if that does happen. And then we have a sense of windows happening here. Pull that over to there, and then that then comes right the way down. Bit of blurring there wouldn't hurt. Then we have another section there, another little section there, with some windows being suggested in this background. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that superb? What can be done with watercolour? You know, it's a matter of you know, having the courage really to do it. A bit more blue here now, because I want these windows to show blue amongst that yellow that's on there. There we go. So let's give an impression. This is all that I'm trying to achieve, an impression of the background. Then I'm going to clean the brush, and this then has got to be blended through like that. Look at that. Then we just sneak off that there, and we sneak off that there. See the way I'm trying to get that sense of light coming from that right hand side behind those figures. There we go. Right, we allow that to completely dry, and I'll work on the figures a little, and we're there. Right, now I'm going to put a bag onto this figure. There's a strap there, and a bag there. The figure is just looking into for some reason. Not sure why. We're going in with a bit of blue now, streaking in, because it's sort of like a carrier bag of some sort, I think, that the figure has got there. And the legs are dark too. Go. This figure is going to be quite dark there. We're blurring that into the background. We'll put the legs back in shortly. There. All of a sudden, we begin to get that sense of light. It's always a bonus. If we can, so much the better. Figure's legs again. There you have it. That figure I think I'm going to leave dark. There is some touches on this buggy that will need strengthening. Like that. Yeah, job for you to see at this moment, but I'm convinced that this will work out right. But that is something that remains to be seen, doesn't it? Which is always the fun of these subjects. You know, you can't predict exactly what's going to happen. There we are, slight strap of a bag there. That's good. Yep. Okay, right. Next, a bit more red, a bit more yellow for the hands there and there. Just looking into the bag, really. That's more or less what's happening there. And the other figures are looking away, so that's not a major problem. And actual fact, I'm going to make this hair darker. There we go. So that's just catching the sunlight just along that edge. There we go. And that gives that strength, that bit of warmth to the whole thing. Well, there you have it. That's more or less my recollection, really, of what I saw in the town this morning, and it just needs signing. So I'm going to sign it in my normal way at this time, with red paint and cadmium red, and I'm going to sign it the bottom left hand corner. I just feel that and that's my signature these days, a bit more stylized than it used to be. So there you have it. Shoppers, Chelmsford City, really. I hope you've enjoyed watching. If you have, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and we'll see you all again very, very soon.